right, guys, we have Mandy Hunt here, who is a mental health nurse for 17 years, business owner, property owner, entrepreneur. Mandy, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and then how you got into nursing?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I'm a little bit of jack of all trades at this point, but first and foremost, yeah, my heart belongs in nursing. I got into mental health nursing. I don't know. I guess it was just as a fluke, sort of. Had tried the different disciplines like every nurse does, and
Mhm.
mental health just really caught my attention. I actually did have a really good mentor though in
Mm.
my clinicals for mental health, and she had identified me as being like, I think you would be a great mental health nurse, so that probably got my direction started. But I really, and I guess this is just starting out as like a tip for nurses when they're trying to figure out which direction to go. But um, I had kind of seen in my management rotations how the
Mhm.
hospital functioned. And I had worked and been floated all over the hospital that I ended up starting in the psych unit with. And I did not like how certain leaders were treating nurses. And I
Mm.
realized very, very early on, it didn't really matter what field of nursing I was going to go into. It's all about the leadership and the management,
True.
and that has been kind of my mantra going forward for everyone. But then when I got into mental health, I fell in love with it. I love the nuances of it. I love that it's not straightforward. There's no like lab you can draw or test you can do, or it's all behavioral, it's all mental, it's all it's
Yeah.
all cognitive, which is really, really challenging. And I think I've always loved that challenge. So that's my initial nursing story.
And then why
So
did you start going into like investing?
yeah. Yeah, so I've always loved property, and I actually that's my first direction as far as investing goes. I started investing in property in 2015 just by buying my own house. I didn't really
Mhm.
realize at the time like that was actually an investment. I just thought I was buying a house to live in. But I bought a house and loved owning property. Was always really scared to own something like that. Worried that I would be able to make the payment. And then my partner at the time wanted to build our own home, and so we, instead of selling our our primary home,
Pre-
we started renting it. We're no longer in a relationship, but I bought him out of all the property. Actually, I bought him out of the
Awesome.
rental. I bought him out of the second home that we had created. And honestly, part of the reason I could do that was because of my nurse income. My nursing income, like nurses' incomes, are some of the best.
Yes.
Uh, Banks just love them. Banks
Yeah,
love
so
nurses.
bankable.
It's so bankable. It is like they'll just give you loans left and right. And so it was very easy for me to finance both of the properties just by myself. I didn't even realize that. I was so surprised when they were willing to give me, loans on.
Yeah.
It was a five, well, three, $400,000 property at the time, and then another like $200,000 property. And so, anyhow, so then I kept renting that other one out, and then COVID came,
Mm.
and one day I was looking at just looking at Zillow, I love looking at properties and looking at
Me
property
too.
values. And I realized all of a sudden I was a millionaire. Like I owned $1 million property. And I was just like, what in the world? Like, and then like everything just started like, oh my gosh, I could sell, because I wasn't really crazy about the second home that we had built, but it was worth $1 million. And so I thought, oh
Wow.
my word, like I could actually sell this and buy something that I want, or buy another rental. Like all of the options just seemed to be so
Yeah.
reachable for me. And so that's what I did. I sold my property, and which, Montanans here would just hate it that everybody's selling property and making, money off of the property. But it just goes to show, like, investing as early as you can, even if it's just buying your own home, that's where you start. And so then I took that money, I bought a condo in Puerto Rico because I'd always
Oh,
wanted to
geez,
go
what?
in the Caribbean. I know. Yes, I've. So that was an experience buying with cash a condo in Puerto Rico was a whole new experience. So if anybody wants to know how to buy a property in Puerto Rico, I got you. Um, and I bought something I really, really wanted to live in it. I wanted to live in it part-time. I wanted to cut back from nursing and go back and forth from my job here in Montana, where my family is based out of, and then live part-time in Puerto Rico. Then my grandma fell. That was a really
Hmm.
long story. And I needed to stay a little bit more in Montana. But what I had done, and this is kind of something I do with all of my properties, I ask myself, is this a place that I really want to live in? Like if I had to live here, would I live here? And then two, can it be rented out? Could it be versatile enough to rent out? How could I rent it out? And I bought one that was already fully furnished, which is completely the way to go now.
Awesome.
I'm like, why would you ever move furniture? Ever? Like, I'm never
Yeah.
going to move furniture again. Even my last property I sold fully furnished. It was about so there's no like moving anything. So it really simplifies it. So I bought this one fully furnished and found a company to help me rent it out as an Airbnb. So it's an Airbnb now. So even though I can't be there and I'd love to be there, it's making about $3,000 a month now.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and it's a place I love. Like I absolutely love it. So my heart's in it. And then I have the rental in town in town here that's a long-term rental. Um, and that makes I think I'm renting that for 2,200 now. And I always have property managers because I don't have time to like manage it myself. And they take really, really good care of it and find great landlords. And I have a little condo in Oregon as well.
Oh,
Again,
wow.
it's something that I like, that I love, that I go and visit as well, but it's being rented out in the meantime. So really first it was properties, and that's how I've gotten my wealth. That's how I got to the 1.2 million net worth.
That's amazing. Before you get into all the other stuff, let's stick with the real estate because you blew my mind a little bit. So that
Yeah.
first house that you sold, how much do you sell it for?
So that first house sold, it was 1,050,000. And it had
Wow.
doubled in value. Yeah, it had doubled in value.
You know what's crazy is that like I feel I guess even myself, whenever like you look at Zillow and you're like, oh wow, I have so much equity. A lot of people don't take advantage of that and actually pull the trigger on selling.
Mm-mm.
And for you to actually do that, be oh wow, this could literally change my life if I do
Yeah,
this. You are
yeah,
actually
and
one of the few people that actually did it.
that actually sold. Yeah, I mean, I did think at the time, like, should I just rent this out? Should I just rent this one out and get another one and kind of go that method? And that is fine. But there were a lot of reasons I just didn't want that. It was a lot of work. The property was a lot of work. It was really far out in a like rural area in Montana. A beautiful, beautiful property. But I also just wanted to, kind of an investing strategy that I use even in the stock market is you buy when everybody or you sell when everybody's buying, and everybody was buying. And so I I just thought this is it. This is my chance. And I also actually I helped my family retire too on it. Like I helped my
Wow.
parents retire. They lost everything like a lot of people did in 2008.
Yeah.
And my dad he needed to retire. So I'm almost doing like a reverse mortgage for them and buying their house,
But
which I mean, I'm going to get anyways
yeah.
when they go.
But you're
So
helping them out. So it's
I'm
like a
just helping them
win-win.
out. Yeah. Yeah. Um, but yeah, I think, believing that you can do it. And again, nurses are like, oh my gosh, our incomes are, they're steady. Banks love them. We have all the documents that they like to look at that make us a great investment for them because that's what they're looking at, right? They want
Mhm.
their investment to pay off for them. So the money is absolutely out there for
Oh, for
nurses,
sure.
and yeah, it's
Especially when I
it's
see like posts be like, where like they show like the average nurse salary, and I'm like, oh, that's actually way below what I'm making. I was like, and then I see all the comments, or like people are like, nurses don't make that much. I was like, I think you guys are just working in the wrong places.
I think I completely agree. Because I keep wondering, because I mean, right now, and granted, I'm pulling in some crazy bonuses. I am working about 65 hours a week. I've always been like that, though. Like, I've always
Mhm.
been like that. This isn't really new. But I mean, I'm making like 20,000, at least 20,000 a month just as a nurse. And so, like,
Jeez, that's amazing.
I know. So I'm like, I don't understand, what is everybody's like, and I'm in Montana. And I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, my base wage is I'm a nurse educator right now. My
Hmm.
base wage is about $55 an hour, which isn't like
Yeah, it's not.
insanely high, right? But I also have certifications. I get paid more for that. I'm a charge nurse. I do all the things, and so I get more differentials for
Mm-hmm.
that. I'm very flexible. I'll pretty much do anything. And when you have that flexibility, they need you all the
Yeah,
time. They need flexible
you'll get
nurses.
paid.
And so yeah, yeah. And so I am, getting a lot of incentives right now. I really don't think those are going to last for long. So
Take
my
advantage of
probably
it, kind
it's
of thing.
yeah, I don't think it's sustainable for hospitals. I really don't. Like that I'm making more than some doctors, I think. So like I don't but anyhow, it's where we're at right now. It's really helping me just like throw cash into my stock portfolio at this point. And so that's where I'm at. But yeah, the opportunities are totally out there for nurses
Very, yeah.
to make good money. Yeah, it's incredible. And I honestly, right now, I'm writing a book. That's my main focus. Is I'm writing a book to help nurses know where to start, feel confident to be able to start this path,
Hmm.
know that it's a lot easier than they actually think. Because I really just stumbled on it. It wasn't even something I was after. It was just like one
Hmm.
day I woke up and I was like, oh my gosh, like, thank
That's
you.
true. Do
Yeah.
you, do you do you wonder, like, I guess we're like probably around the same age, because I'm like almost 12, 13 years in nursing. And
Uh-huh.
then do you think it's like just the newer generation not wanting to work those long hours, that want to get like the overtime money? Or because like I kind of see it with like some of the newer nurses. They're like, oh, why do you work so hard? I was like, well, I don't want to do this forever. So that's why I'm trying to buy back my time a little bit. I'll work hard now. And
Right.
then when I'm a little bit older, I want to retire earlier than 65.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I haven't really figured out if it's a generational thing at this point. I'm not sure. It could be, although I educate a lot of nurses. I'm very involved with precepting and orienting new nurses, and there's a lot of them that are super hard workers that are coming
Mhm.
into the field. I do think. I think it's just. I don't know if it. I think it might be. I don't really know.
It's
I'm not
okay.
sure. Yeah, I'm not really sure. I I do know just myself, even though I'm building a plan to retire young, like that's
Mhm.
what I really want. I don't think I will. Like I don't think I
Mhm.
actually will. I want the option.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what nurses are after too. Like they really want fulfilling work that doesn't burn them out, a job that they can do if they want to, but they don't have to. And I think that's what people are after. They just really want fulfilling jobs. It's less about the number of hours because in in my case, and I think a lot of other people's case, if you love what you're doing, you don't care how much you're working. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't. You almost don't even think about that. And I'm told all the time that I need better work-life balance. People tell me that all the time. You're working too much. You're doing too much. I've always been told that my entire life. And maybe that's true. I don't know, but I haven't wanted to stop, and I haven't wanted to not be so passionate about something that I really love waking up every day to do it.
Mhm.
So I really feel it's about mindset and that people really haven't been helped to, just people in general, not just nurses, haven't really been helped to find out what is truly meaningful in life. Because I know we're talking a lot about money and wealth and all of that, and it's really not about that. It's not. We want a life of freedom where we get to wake up in the morning and we get to be with our family if we want to, or we get to go to work if we want to. We get to choose what we
Get
want
to
to do.
choose the choices.
Yeah, every day. And I just don't know. I think maybe the newer generations, even our generation, because I'm a millennial. I'm 41.
I'm 35.
Like
We're close.
I'm an old millennial. What's that?
I'm 35, so we're
You're
close.
35? Yeah. Yeah. I think that we did see our parents work and they were so unhappy in their jobs. And that we don't want that. We definitely know we don't want that. And it's not worth the money. It really
Yeah,
isn't. It's not
yeah,
worth the money to be in a job that you don't love.
that's true. So let's jump into your stock portfolio because you're able to throw a lot of money at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's jump into it.
Yeah,
What do you want to tell me?
that's my newest adventure.
Mhm.
That's my newest adventure. And I found a company, and we're in their shirt, Investiva, because I believe so passionately in what she's doing. Kiana is the business owner. Um, but honestly, I really didn't start investing in the stock. I've always wanted to invest in the stock market, but I always kind of believed all those myths of it's gambling and
Mhm.
it's not safe and kind of against corporations. Like I've kind of always had that sort of mentality fed to
Mhm.
me. Um, and I, but in, so at the end of 2022, so I'd sold my house, right? Kind of set myself up a little bit. End of 22, I got attacked by a patient really, really severely. I got just clobbered in the head. He hit me
Jeez.
7 times. I got a concussion. Didn't break anything, fortunately, but that really impacted me because, again, I've always been a hard worker. I've never felt like I wouldn't be working, but it really did make me think about what if I couldn't? What if I couldn't work
Yeah.
anymore? What if something came up in my life and I couldn't keep doing this anymore, even just mentally, because nursing it's incredibly mentally
Yeah.
taxing. And then, of course, I'm in the mental health field as well. So there is another layer to that. Um, so that on my recuperation time on my FMLA, while I was recovering, I started looking into investing in the stock market. That was like my moment of clarity and discovery. And I found Investiva, and she really just spoke to my heart. I loved how she explained the stock
Mhm.
market. I loved how she took the fear out of it. I really appreciated how she spoke to the psychology of the markets and really understanding what was actually happening and why people value an asset and why the stocks go down, that we don't have to be afraid when the stock goes down. Because that's all we see on the news is, oh my God, the stock market. Like we even
Yeah.
just had that this past week, right? And recession. And there's all of this fear
A lot of
that
fear
is
mongering.
generated.
Yeah.
Yeah, a ton of fear. And she really took all of that out of it for me. And really, when you see it in terms of long-term investing, that's what I'm doing is long-term investing. There's no need to be fearful. And in fact, if anything, when the stock goes down, you get
Mm.
excited because you're
Yeah.
like,
Get more.
"Yay, it's cheap, it's on sale." Um, so it's just like completely the reverse psychology of what I thought the stock market actually was. And so I I started and I had a little bit of a nest egg that I started investing. And within a year, I hit my 50K portfolio at about I think it had about a 10 to 15% return rate, which that was in
Nice.
a year. And I was
That's
like,
really
wow,
good.
that's pretty good, right? And then I just hit my 100K. So, I mean, it's going
Nice.
fast. In 18 months, I'm making almost $1,000 in dividends. I've been really focused on
Wow.
dividend investing. So I'm making almost $1,000 a month in dividends. Which that for me is really what, um, I don't know. I've just as a nurse, where I just want nurses to be able to make passive income while they're working, and dividends is so exciting because it's a little more stable. It's a
Yeah.
little more stable than, the ups and downs of the stock market. And yeah, so now I'm at my 100K, which includes some crypto as well. I have some crypto that of course is a little higher risk, but it's still, I think, a very valuable asset. And that's my newest adventure. And I'm doing affiliate marketing for Investiva too. So that's another little side hustle. So I've learned to be like the side hustle nurses. So many nurses have been, which is exactly the direction that nurses, if they don't want to be nursing forever, or if they want to not rely on nursing as being their only source of income, that's where it's at.
No, that's true. That's why I've always been like entrepreneurial since I was like in high school, but I didn't really like fully go into it until like I had kids. And then I was like, dang, I really need to be able to make more money without having to be away from my kids. So if I could just be at least home doing this, or stock market or affiliate marketing, anything, it just makes sense. And then luckily with this podcast, I've met so many people like you that have all these like side hustles, and just makes everything, you got to have like-minded people to talk to about it, which is pretty awesome.
It is really awesome. And one of my aha moments was that, if nurses want more money, it isn't about picking up extra shifts. Granted, I am picking up a lot of extra shifts right now. Um, but that's, you don't have to do that. And
Yeah.
really, when it comes to staying in the nursing field long term, or even just making the kind of money that you really want to make, it's investing. Like investing in property, investing in assets, investing in stocks. That's where anybody's going to make money. So it's a totally different mindset than most nurses have been taught. And that's why I'm writing a book about it, because I really want nurses to be able to know that this is like, quit complaining about the hospital, quit complaining about your manager, quit complaining about the world and what's happening in the world. Like, just stop that, focus on this, and you'll actually quite easily get to where you want to go, especially if you're a new nurse starting out, and you can start out early. And those are some of the nurses I want to try to grab
Oh
as
yeah,
well, because I
for
think,
sure.
man, I had known this. Like, don't you think you would have? I mean, I don't know if I even would have believed it, but it sure would have been nice to have someone like preaching to me.
Oh yeah, because like you said, it cuts out the potential burnout that you might have, knowing that you have something going for you outside of work. So like you actually go to work a little bit happier, because you're like, all right, when I get out of here, I got something to work on. And yeah, you just go to work happy, you do your job to the best of your ability, and you go home and forget about work because you have other stuff to do.
Absolutely. And I have seen so many nurses burned out. They come to work, they're complaining about their job, very negative, very toxic. I saw you,
Oh yeah.
post on that one day. Very toxic. And I've always really thought, because I've never really been that way. Like, I've never really been. So I'm like, what is different about what is different about why, how I come to work versus how you're coming to work?
Just
You
built
probably have some
differently.
thoughts.
we
Yeah,
just,
I
we
guess
just, like you
so.
said, different mindset going
Yeah,
into it.
it is. It's a different mindset. And there actually is a lot of mental illness, unfortunately, within the nurse ranks. And there's nothing wrong about that, right? Like, would make sense, because 20% of our population within the US is on antidepressants. So
Mm.
of course nurses are going to be suffering from depression, anxiety, all of the above. And nurses have actually higher suicide rates. I
Do they
mean,
really?
oh yeah. Yeah, people don't realize how it, and there's probably a lot of different reasons for that. I mean, we might blame the nursing field, and that could, add to that to an extent, but just the mental health of our nation in general is you know very affected right now. And a lot of it is about mindset, and understanding your life and where you're going, and your belief systems, and all of that. But um, I do feel that nurses are, we are under a lot of pressure. We're under a lot of stress. The kind of mind that is needed to do the nursing job is one that's
Mhm.
very conscientious, very detailed, very hard on ourselves, very perfectionistic, and some of those pieces can lead us down a road of
Oh, yeah, for sure.
unhappiness. Yeah. So if we can just like get ourselves out of that mindset of those pieces and realize nursing isn't everything. It's a great job. It can bring you a lot of happiness and fulfillment, but you got to have other assets,
Oh, yeah,
other
for
things
sure.
going on right in your life. Yeah, to stay happy.
And then that's like just going back to your stock portfolio, getting to 100,000 in like 18 months. That is huge because now that snowball effect to get to 1 million in the stock portfolio is going to go by so fast.
It's gonna go by fast. Yeah. And that's where I'm going. That's my next. I mean, of course, I want to hit 500K, and then I want to hit 1 million. Um, and I have to attribute it to the company that I've been working with. It was actually a pretty small company, but now they have students all across the world that are doing the exact same thing. And I'm now in her business class, essentially. Like she has a higher ticket item that she sells. So it's not just about investing. Like that first level is about investing and mindset, but then
Mhm.
the second level is you've got, how do you bring in cash flow now, right? So now you've got your portfolio. Like, yes, you will be earning, profit on your stock portfolio, but you've got to put the cash in there to get that rolling. And so what
Mhm.
side hustles can you do? How can you bring in more? So that's kind of the piece where I'm at right now. And I already was, I owned property already, but I wasn't really sure like what kind of business I wanted to do. And so now I'm fine tuning that a little bit. It's still a little hazy for me, but I'm working on it.
But yeah, that's probably the next step for everyone that starts getting the bigger portfolios after real estate stocks because like I feel the more successful you become, the more you have to look for bigger like tax write-offs. Like
Yes.
I'm not a tax professional, but I know my CPA is like, well, we need to do some more business expenses and stuff like that. So,
Yes. No, absolutely. So that was a big thing for me as well, and I am also not a tax professional. However, I have always done my own taxes. So I do like understand at least my taxes pretty well. And last year I had tons of write-offs. Of course, I do have the rental properties too. That's a
mhm,
big
that's
chunk of where
huge.
I've been able to write off, and I've always been able to write off a lot. So when nurses are like, "Well, I'm not gonna pick up another shift because the government's just gonna take money," that's a complete myth. Like, complete myth. That's one part, that's a chapter in my book actually that I'm writing is, like, don't believe that.
Yeah.
That's what they want you to believe, but no, 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 you just have to have the side business, the hustles that are you're getting, your money back from. So last year I got $37,000 back in taxes. So
Amazing.
that is a piece of it. Yeah, it's incredible. And then you just think differently about everything you
Oh yeah.
buy. How, is this something that could be a business? Is it, because I love doing it. Could this be a business? I love playing the guitar. Could I, how could I make that a business? Like you totally can,
Yeah.
you don't
Put
have to
on
make a lot of
YouTube and
money.
then you're a social media influencer for guitar.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You could totally do that. You could start posting videos, of playing the guitar or going around to different bars and clubs and playing just for fun and write it all off, like if that's your business, you might be making a little bit of money on the side. Hopefully you are, but yeah, it's really interesting how we don't fully understand our own tax system
Oh
and
yeah.
structure and why taxes are in place. There's like a lot of negativity around taxes. And some of it can seem not fair, but it's all, I mean, it's all a reward system. The government is rewarding us for what it wants us to do. Whether you
Yeah.
agree with that or not, like that's how it is. That's how it works. And it is rewarding businesses. Like
Oh,
that's the
100%.
history of, yeah, the
That's what I
US.
was talking with someone before. They're like, "Oh, we're just getting taxed so much." I was like, "That's because all you have is your W-2 job. If
Yep.
if you had something like, who's getting the tax incentives for you doing your overtime? The hospital. The
The
ho
hospital, right. exactly.
So it's like they're rewarding the business of a hospital. So if you have your little side hustle that you made legitimate into like a business, you'll have a better chance against taxes.
Yes, yes. And it really is worth it for us to learn as nurses how to take advantage of all of that. And there's actually more nurses out there I've realized that do know this. Like it's not foreign to us, but we don't really talk about it a lot at
Yes.
work. Yeah. So like we're not sharing it with each other. And I like
Why do you think that is?
I think some of it's still taboo, even just in general in our society. And there is a lot of political influence in it too, because
Yeah.
people are so like, um, you know, taxes are just like a sore subject. They always have been, as opposed to actually like looking at it in a positive way,
Yeah.
like not being, completely anti-government. I think also, yeah, talking about wealth is in general in our the country here is very it's hard for people to do. People think like even
Yeah.
me, like it feels weird to post that I have 1.2, you know, net worth like that. I feel like am I
I
bragging?
mean,
You know,
bragging.
that
Yeah.
it just feels it can feel kind of icky, but then I think, well, that's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it because I want other nurses to know that it's completely possible to get
Mhm.
there and that it's easy. I'm literally a 41-year-old nurse in Montana of all states. Like nothing special. And I got here like kind of accidentally. So if I can do it, and that's what I really actually appreciate about my mentor with Investiva. Like she's a first generation American. She's Persian, she came from Iran. And
Wow.
she has now like a 10 million net worth. She was an engineer,
Uh,
didn't like that, got into finance, lost a ton of money day trading, like learned everything the hard way. And she just turned 40 and she's got $10 million. And I think if she can do it, like she's not even first generation American,
yeah.
like she's came from another country
Country.
and has
Yep.
learned all of this that quickly and earned that much money. Like why aren't we? Why aren't we, you know, learning that, especially as nurses, and my like lofty goal, which I don't know if I don't even know how I would quite reach this, but we need more nurses, not less. And so I do see a lot of people almost kind of going down the path of, you hate your nursing job, get out of it, do
Oh yeah.
this, there's that piece of it, and I that does not resonate with me. So I really want to look for nurses who enjoy their job, enjoy actually what they're doing, but do want to have a plan for what happens if I don't want to do this anymore, or how do I stay in it? How do I make this sustainable for me?
Yeah.
Um, and keep nurses happy and healthy in their jobs. Maybe working a shift a week. Like it doesn't even have to be, that you're working all the time, but that would be amazing if we had 10 million nurses who are working half of what they do right
Oh
now,
yeah.
right? And like it would be the hospital systems would be so much different and so
Yeah.
much better.
Running so much better.
Mhm.
Like you're completely right. So I had I think his name is Eric. He's the one that did like the whole podcast from his Lamborghini. He's a nurse.
Yes, I loved that one. That one was
he
awesome. Yeah.
he he brought it out super correct. He's like, I see all these Instagram posts of like, if you hate your nursing job, leave it. But then he's like, why? Most stable job, if you go to certain places where you can make a lot of money, you're almost in like that 1% of making a ridiculous amount of money. Why don't you just find a job within nursing that you actually like? And then you could either work more, work less, depending on your pay. And then you could work on everything else. And it was just so nice hearing that, other than all the Instagram posts like, oh, I left bedside because I
Yeah.
didn't like it. I was like, did you just not like the unit you worked on?
Right.
Or like, what's the
Right.
real story behind it?
Yeah. Yeah. I couldn't agree more. I think that as nurses, we've kind of allowed ourselves to kind of get into that negative world of complaining and not realizing that we can just make our current situation better. I mean, part of the reason why we've gone into nursing is because of all the options, and all of the options are still there. There's even,
All of them.
I think, more options now. So, now I do think that there are nurses that just shouldn't be nurses. And so there is there is a part of me that is like, we do need some of that from social media because they need to realize that they should not be nursing and that they're not happy in it, and then they maybe do need to find something else. But I hope that isn't taking nurses who truly want to be nurses out of the game. And that's kind of the nurses that my book is going to be focusing on, is how can those nurses who really do want to be nursing but are frustrated with maybe how much they're making, don't understand the financial system, don't know all of the other options that are out there and how they can structure their life to create a life that they actually really enjoy living while nursing, like helping those nurses be happier. Because if nurses are happy, like everyone's going to be happy.
Everyone's to be
Like
happy.
if nurses can be happy, everyone's going to be happy. So
100%.
yeah, it's really, really fascinating to me, all of the toxicity. I've always been fascinated by the toxicity in nursing, and I don't completely understand it quite yet. But yeah, why we make excellent wages. We're the most trusted profession still. And there's a lot to be said for that. I mean,
Yeah.
there really is, that you can walk into a room and as soon as you say that you're a nurse, you're given respect. People ask you questions. People want to know more. They want to understand. Like, there's a lot to be said for that. Doctors don't get that kind of clout necessarily. So,
That's true.
yeah, there's so many benefits to nursing that I think we kind of forget about when we get so stuck in, like, I hate my job, like I hate this,
I hate being here. I need
yeah, I hate
to.
being here. I'm back here again, and my manager, and yeah, all of that. It makes it really challenging for you and your team. Like your team's like over it. They're like, I don't want to hear about it anymore.
Yeah. So there's a one quote on one of your Instagram posts here. Whoever said money doesn't buy happiness doesn't know what it's like to be a nurse.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's a really good point. I think, it's funny. I've been learning a lot about money and its correlation with happiness because I was raised to believe that money doesn't buy happiness.
Yeah,
So
me
I've
too.
I've really had to work on my mindset, and I still do believe that. Um, However, we that's how our system works. That's how everything works. So you do have to have a certain amount of money. You don't need to be Jeff Bezos. You don't need to be Elon
Yeah.
Musk. You don't need to, if you want to be, that's fine. You can totally be that, but we don't have to be that. And really, if most nurses could get at a $2.5 to $5 million portfolio, they're set. You're done. It's not that,
Mhm.
and it's not that hard. It really isn't. People can do it rather quickly. And then you can nurse if you want to, or you don't have to. Um, I do think some of the structure that is how things are set up, it is kind of sad for nurses because, like, even policemen,
Mhm.
they have this great pension, like 20 years. You work 20 years,
Fingers
you're
and you're
done.
done.
And that's really how we probably should try to set up nursing too. We're going to have to do it on our own, like through this kind of education. But you like nurses, it would be so great if you had a 20-year plan, and in those 20 years you're going to be at a $5 million portfolio. You're done.
That'd be amazing.
If you want to be if you want to be, like, it would just be such a different world for nurses.
The crazy thing is, I'm guessing you have your 401k or 403b through your hospital as well, right?
Hmm.
Like I bring this up in almost every podcast that talks about stocks, is that I have coworkers or I've met people that work in the same hospital system as me where they've been working just as long or longer than me and they didn't even like start their retirement accounts. I'm like, what were you doing? Oh, I thought I would rather have all the money in my pocket now. I was like, okay, so where is that money? Oh, I used it. I was like, then you lost it. It's gone. Like you could have had 10, almost 20 years of compounded growth towards your retirement by now.
Yep, I
So,
know, I know.
so
I don't know how I knew that it was important to invest in 401k, but I did. So that's good. I think my dad, kind of taught me that. But then
mhm.
he lost it all in 2008. Um, so then you're just like, well, that's not
Yeah, then you're like, wait.
like what happened there? And part of that was because he was laid off. And so and they just my parents just didn't understand. It really is. It's a generational thing. It's
Mhm.
not just nurses, it's everyone. Like most people are not taught how to run their
Yeah.
finances.
And the
And
resources weren't there at the time either.
the resources weren't there. I mean, yeah, you didn't even have Robinhood back then where you could
Yeah.
like,
We hardly had internet. Like,
hardly had internet. I know YouTube wasn't even born.
yeah.
That's crazy. Like YouTube was born in 2010. It's just
Yeah.
so amazing how fast everything has gone for people, and it's hard. That's part of it too. Nurses, it's hard to keep up. It's
Mhm.
for hard to keep up for everyone. There's a lot to keep up on, and it is overwhelming. So learning kind of all the tricks and how to simplify and whew, yeah, it's a lot. But yeah, I do have a 401k, and I mean, currently my understanding right now, because you don't really have as much ability to pick and choose what you're investing in a
Yeah.
401k, it's really kind of a scam because of that. However,
Yeah. I'm
however,
happy we agree, but
yes, okay, good.
I'm happy we
However, if you're getting a company match, there's no reason why you shouldn't take advantage of that money.
that part. Yeah.
Yeah, I realized it was a scam when I stopped getting my dividends. I used to get this like nice little dividend payment at like the end of the year, and I have it. It's mine is through Vanguard through the hospital here, and I stopped getting my dividend. I'm like, where did my dividends go? So they just like changed how they
How it's
were,
structured. You're like,
how
oh,
it's
that's our fee
structured.
now.
I don't know. It certainly here's the crazy thing. I have been investing in a 401k since I started in 2007 is when I started. So like right before 2008. And I I have $200,000 in that account, and I've only been investing in the stock market for 18 months, and I have $100,000 in the account. Like, like there's something wrong. Or there's something right. Vanguard is very good at using my money to make more money. That's what they're doing. They are using my money to make more money. And I know with compounding, like it will reach up, it'll be really great when I can finally actually get into my portfolio, at
Mhm.
age 59 and a half. So that's the other scam part of it, right? Is that we can't really access our
And
money.
then the taxes will be a lot higher when we get that age. So we'll get taxed at that higher
Get taxed
rate.
at that rate. Yeah. So I've always used it, and maybe this is why it's not as high, but I've always used loans from my 401k to buy property, to buy, use it for down payments. Um, and so, yeah, I mean, that will take away from some of my gains in the future, but I need to access that money more, and
Mhm.
you can't. It's really hard. So,
No, that's super true. I like how you brought that up because, like, similarly, I've been working for 12 years and, like, say my 403b's balance before this recent crash was like at like 300K. And
yeah.
I was like 12 years.
Yeah.
And then you look at my own stock portfolio, I'm like, I'm past that.
Yeah.
And I've only been focusing in on it for the hardest part of like maybe 5, 6 years.
Right.
I was like, where is the disconnect here where this should be growing so much more exponentially after the first 100,000, but it's only gone up to 3?
Yeah,
Like, yeah,
especially if they're investing in ETFs that are like, the S&P 500
supposed to
ETFs. Like,
be following the S&P 500.
yeah, there should be way, way better gains. So yeah, they're definitely not. Who knows? Who
I'm
knows?
missing something. I might have to read the fine print.
Definitely missing something. Definitely. Yeah. That's awesome that you have like over over 400K portfolio. That's so
Yeah.
great. Mhm.
It's just annoying, like you said, seeing that you're doing better on your own individual versus some big 401k or whatever. Like the only reason why I use it is for the tax advantage of bringing down my taxable income, but I don't even contribute a lot to it anymore because of I would rather be in control of my money.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I'm only doing the company match right now, which is about 4%.
Yeah.
So even that is kind of a lot, especially with how much I'm making right now. So I
Mhm.
kind of almost don't want to put that much in it, but getting the
The
4%
free money, yeah.
is worth it. I think that is, and it's a hedge. I mean, that's the thing too. Like that's a part that a lot of nurses don't understand. It's not so much that, we should expect a lot from our jobs. We really should. We should expect good working conditions. We should expect going to work and being happy. However, just the way our world works, we have to have hedges. We have to have other things in our life that we can rely on when our work is not going the direction that we want it to
Yeah.
go. And so, yes, having an investment portfolio, having your 401k, having property, having investing in your own education and investing in your skills outside of nursing or in nursing, all of that, like that, those are all things that we should be investing in so that when one fails, we have,
At least have a backup.
Mhm.
Other than Investiva, do you have any other like affiliate marketing that you're doing?
I don't. This is my first affiliate marketing venture. Um, my mentor, Kiana, who I'm paying now, actually, which is, I never thought I would pay for a mentor. Never thought I would pay for a coach, but I highly, highly recommend it. She really wants me to get more connections and do more affiliate marketing, which I don't know. I would really like to find nurses, maybe even such as yourself, because you have the course with options that you teach. I've actually already told other people about it, non-nurses. I've been talking to them about the course because
Perfect.
I get so many questions now about investing and where should I go and how should I learn about this. But I would love to find nurses that do have courses and help funnel nurses through all of that, whether they have an affiliate program or not.
I'm
But
actually going to be rolling out an affiliate program,
are you?
so
Oh,
you'll be on my
good.
list.
Great. Perfect. Exactly. That'd be awesome. No, and I've made in my book, I'm going to include essentially all the nurses that I've been following for a little while of like who I think you should follow. Like these are the recommendations. These are people like if you're interested in this, do this. I mean, there's so many nurses that have financial literacy courses that they're going through. And I'm still trying to figure out like what I don't I don't know if I really want a financial literacy course. I mean, maybe that's what it would turn into. But I'm just not sure the direction and complete in my business. But definitely affiliate marketing is one of it because I just want to get it out there. Like, go nurses, go find this education, go do it because you'll connect with different people too. Certain people you'll just connect with, and I think that's
Is
important.
that what you kind of want to promote on the free nurses
Mhm.
Instagram?
Yeah, I want to promote that as well as essentially just how to build your life, like the options that are available for you to build that particular life and help nurses create a roadmap. That's ultimately what I'm after. Like I want to help nurses, and so maybe it would be like some coaching, weekly, class groups that we would do, just more chilled, laid back, that kind of thing, where nurses can kind of bring their issues, um, and but essentially have a roadmap that they can follow. So like start here. So for like newer nurses who are just getting out of college, like buy a house. Like that's the first, you gotta buy a house. Like, just buy a house. Like don't think too much about
Not
it.
the
Don't
most
think
expensive one, but a house.
maybe not the most expensive one, but just like buy something because it's going to be a great asset. It's going to build your credit, all of those different pieces. And if you already have a house, then we got to get you into the stock market, right? Like you've got to get into the stock market, make sure all these pieces are in place for you so that if you want to retire in 20 years or, whatever your retirement plan is, like getting you to that point where you
Mhm.
have a really solid plan.
No, that's great. I think you could probably grow this following really quickly too, because
I
I feel
I
like a
think
lot of people need to know about that.
they do, and I'm finding yeah, my social media, haven't really been focusing as much on that, but I do notice that people are really interested in dividends. When I post about dividends, like, people pick up on that right away. And people are really interested in how much I make, which is really fascinating
Yeah.
to me because I think it just shows there's not enough transparency with what's possible. So again, it feels weird to be like, I make this much every
Oh,
month.
yeah.
But that's what people are wanting. They want to know, like, how can I make more? How can I, increase my income as a nurse? And of course, all of my income isn't just nursing. I have these side hustles too, but that's a part of it. That's a
It's
part of
part of
it.
it.
So, yeah,
But yeah, I think you could do really well with this because I'm seeing like all your purchases on Robinhood and
yeah,
all of these. Like people do want to know this stuff, especially like the dividends. That's how I originally started in investing,
is
knowing
it?
that if you buy something, you're going to get something every month or every quarter or every year, depending on how the dividend is given out. And then you're like, oh, I literally did nothing and they paid me for it.
And they paid me for it. Yeah, it's like the best feeling ever. You're like, wow, and then it's just weird. You're like, wow, I own, some Tesla. That's kind of weird. Like, I own,
Yeah.
I own all these companies. I own Apple. I own Microsoft. I own this, bizarre shipping company out of Greece, Starbucks. I just, all of a sudden you're like, this is really interesting. That I'm like, but it's so easy. It's so within our reach
Yeah.
now, and um, it is pretty cool to see, like, those dividends pour in every month for
Oh,
me.
for
And
sure.
I actually have, if anybody's interested who's watching and they want to learn about dividend investing and what I'm doing, I do actually have a free dividend plan spreadsheet
Cool.
that I will share with you so that you can see what my top 15 are that are really kind of making me the most money. And I've really broke that down. I mean, investing, you don't have to understand math for investing,
Hmm.
but I do like understanding the math behind it. And so it kind of breaks down exactly, like, if I invested this, if I invested $100,000 in this company, like, how much stock would I need to own to make $1,000 a month? Like, and really, like, highlights those specific stocks. So
No,
if
that's
there's,
great. A lot of people
yeah,
want hand holding, and that's exactly what it is. They're like,
it
"Oh,
is.
I need to know numbers to get to whatever goal I need to get to," and that hand holding is such a huge service, even if it's as simple as, like, the Excel sheet or the sheet that you're gonna provide.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So, yeah, I'm I'm super excited to share that and just kind of see my own business evolve and see what happens with it. So,
It's true. And just
yeah.
before we go into a few other questions, like, the $1,000 a month in dividends is amazing to that you're getting is, like, amazing to get.
Yeah.
Like, imagine an extra $12,000 a year right into your stock portfolio. Just
Right. Yeah. Already, just within a short period of time. Um, I will say that I am using some margin, which has been
that's right.
interesting too, right? And especially with these past couple of weeks, I've used some margin to grab stocks when
Me
they've
too.
really dipped. Yeah. I was like, I can't pass this up. I have to buy some more. But even using margin, you still make money. Like, that's what's really interesting, and changing our mindset on loans and paying interest, because if you can pay interest but make more money than what you're uh, paying in interest, then it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
It's a total no-brainer. So, and that can feel sort of scary. It can, but that's all part of mindset and nurses learning to believe that they can. And if really, I mean, the stuff that we do at work is so impressive and so scary, and we take risks with our lives every day, and We are doing such risky work even with other people's lives. Like if we can do that, then we can do this.
Oh,
We can
100%.
totally do this.
I actually love that you brought up margin, even though in my course I tell people, like, if you're just starting out, absolutely not. Don't touch it, because it's a whole different ball game. But then I was reading, I wish I remember the book off the top of my head, where since our best money making compounded years are way further in the future, the way to catch up is using vehicles like loans or margin to get us to that monetary value where we could compound on it faster to get to those future numbers way earlier.
Yep.
And that's one of the biggest things where, like, it shifted myself, like whether it was to buy more real estate or to buy more stocks, being able to leverage some sort of loan to get further and further ahead is huge in building wealth.
It is huge. And getting loans, I mean, that's been a huge mind shift for me because I've always been taught, pay off your mortgage and, pay off your credit cards even and all of this. And there's, whatever your interest rate is, yes, that is super important to pay off
Mhm.
your credit cards. But I have right now about $50,000 in credit card debt, but it's 0% interest because
There
I
you go.
transfer balances. I've always done that. I've always done that. I've always used credit cards, and I've used them to basically, yeah, buy lots of things. I mean, even to pay my mentor, I used a credit card to pay my mentor. Now I shop around for good credit cards, so I get really good points. I'm one of the first 50,000 that got the Robinhood card because it's
Oh,
3% cash back, which I've never seen that before on
yeah.
everything.
It's always like 2 is like the max.
Yeah, 2 is usually the max, and that's what I've had. I've used like Citi Double Cash for 2% for a long time, but Robinhood has 3% now. It automatically goes into my investment portfolio, which
Awesome.
is really cool too, because normally I would just put that in my, bank. Um, but now it just automatically deposits into my investment account. So, uh, yeah, taking loans there, that is actually the only way that you can make money and grow your wealth. That's how our system is structured. It's just
Yeah.
is.
It's
Like you just
it's
don't.
100% true.
Yeah, yeah. So it's funny because initially when I had sold my house, I thought I'm just gonna pay my parents' house off, right? So they won't have to worry about mortgage at all. And then when I saw their interest rate, which was like 4% at the time, and on a 20-year loan, I'm like, why? Like, that
Yeah.
makes no kind of sense because I can take this cash and invest it and make way
Mhm.
more than 4%.
Oh, yeah,
So
for sure.
it does make my parents nervous because they're like, oh, like you want this feeling of like everything I own is paid off, but that is not actually how you build, your wealth. And so, yeah, I have 50,000 in debt and credit cards. I have six, or I think this condo is like a $400,000 loan. Um, and then my rental property has I think it's at $150,000. So, I have like $700,000 in loans. Like that's, or
And
maybe
it's
is that how
fine.
much it is? Wait a minute, or maybe I put myself up there. I don't think I have that. I think it's closer to $650,000, which sounds scary. You're like, oh my gosh, like I have, and I use margin, and I kind of max out my margin which I don't know, maybe I haven't made the right decision there, but I have a high risk tolerance. So knowing
Mhm.
your risk tolerance is really where it's at. And that is a part of Investiva that I really appreciate is she teaches you how to identify that for yourself.
Mhm.
And I'm a hard worker. I have great health, I can pound it. I've got an emergency fund, I've got all the things. So
There you go.
I can I'm just fine if I do margin, and I have a long-term strategy.
Mhm.
So I
That's what I
don't
was about to say. I was like, you probably have a specific goal to get to, and
Yes.
that's what you're
Yeah,
doing.
no, I do. It's a long-term strategy, and so I don't have to panic if things aren't going, like, exactly as maybe I think that they should. But honestly, everything is really pretty much fallen into place, even just in the short period of time that I've
And you
been.
have a super stable job
Yeah,
where if you needed to pay off something, you could wipe out something if you needed to.
totally wipe out. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I've been able to do that because I have recently my 0% balances have come up, due, like,
Yeah.
I'll need to pay them, and I'm like, "Okay, well, I'll just,
All right,
like,
here we go.
here we go. I'm just gonna pay it off, and in 2 weeks it's done." You're like, "Sweet." Like, it's awesome that you can
That's
just do
like, so I know we're at an hour, but you just opened up like a whole nother can of worms where I
that. Yeah.
love talking about like balance transfers too,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
it's amazing because you get like those 12 months, 18 months, 21, 24 months, and then depending on your credit score, you could just keep kicking that loan down the line. Like you could pay it off slowly, and then whatever it's left, next balance transfer card,
Yep.
push it there, or just, and once you have a certain amount, you could just have it keep going in a circle back and forth to each other until you actually do pay it off at a 0%, which is
At a 0%.
insane.
Yeah, it really is. It's some of the best, I think the easiest, and best interest rates out there when you
Yeah.
do that. I think right now I do see like it will charge you maybe a 5% like
Yeah,
balance transfer fee or
but
something like that, but that's minimal when you
yeah,
consider
the
the
amount
other.
of like 26% per month that they might
Oh,
charge you.
yeah. Yeah, there's no reason people should be paying 26% per month. I mean, that's even some of the loan offers I've gotten are, they're still 12% and they're, I mean, that's just insane. I mean, it's really I've always used credit cards. I've got probably I bet you I have 25 credit cards.
I'm up there too. I
Are you
have a little
kidding?
book. I have a little book. I'm like, I think this one has a new promotion where I could get a 0%. So let's start using it again so they don't close it, and let's
Yep.
balance transfer.
Yeah, no, I do the exact same thing, Brian. I do the exact same thing. And then I've also learned, now that I have a business and that I can also you can write that interest off. Like if
Yes.
it's business related, I mean, you are paying the interest, but you're also not because it's decreasing your tax liability. Um, so then paying interest, it's not as big of a deal at all. And now there's a lot of credit cards even that'll at least let you pay, plan it a little bit, and you're maybe paying like 7 or 8%. So there's so many options as far as,
Oh yeah, so true.
interest goes. And I think even with my margin, because I trade only on Robinhood right now. One of my goals is to open another portfolio and trade on another platform too, but I think it's like 6.55%.
Okay.
And that's great because
Yeah.
I can basically take, I mean, if my plan doesn't work out, I do go in and out of certain dividend stocks and grab the dividends, here and there. But if for some reason that failed, I am investing in a lot of stocks that are paying like 10 to 11%. So that 6%, I'm still making money.
Yeah,
Like
you're still
it's
making it.
not, yeah. And the stock may go up at a certain point and then I can sell and even get some capital gains off of it. Now, there
Mhm.
are obviously tax, implications of that too if you're selling earlier than a year, and that's, something important to consider, but I'm not making enough for that to even, matter at this point. So, yeah, it's pretty interesting.
There's always a plan, but Mandy, we are we pretty much at an hour. I know I could probably talk about a lot of other stuff way longer, so we'll probably have you on another episode again.
I would love that, and I would actually love to interview you for my book too,
Oh,
because
100%.
would that be okay?
Very
Okay.
okay to do.
I would love to interview you for my book, and then if you ever get an affiliate link, I'll plop it in there. I'll get an
Oh, yeah,
affiliate.
for sure. So, last question. If anyone wanted advice to get to where you are today, what kind of advice would you give them?
I would say get a mentor, get a coach. I think that is the most important thing, and that goes for whether you're just wanting to improve your skills in nursing, or you want to build a roadmap to financial freedom. You need to have someone else who's already been there, already done it. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. Um, and typically we do need that support too. You
Mhm.
kind of need, because we all hit those like same roadblocks and same challenges. And so it's really important for you to have someone there who will just tell you, nope, that's normal. Keep going. That's, yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, I felt that way too. Yep, keep going. I think we all really need that. So get a mentor, whoever it is. It could be you, Brian. It could
It could
be
be you.
it could be me. It could be, I mean, there's so that I just am so excited at all of the nurses that are out there that have social media accounts, and they're trying to educate nurses. I mean, there's so many
Mhm.
mentors available, and they have positive energy. They're like wanting to help you, giving tons of free information.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to pay for it. I think that at some point you really should pay for a mentor, because I think it makes you, it just, typically will follow through more
Yeah,
when you
because we
there's
put
something.
money on the line for it.
Yeah. So I think paying for something, it just, yeah, creates more accountability, but at the same time, there's tons of free information out there, and it feels like it's even exploding right now. I don't know if it's just because I'm in that space, so I'm looking for it, but I feel like there's more access to that kind of information than ever.
For sure. So, Mandy, this was a lot of fun.
This was
So
fun. Yeah, it was.
and
I
you
loved
definitely opened up from the beginning to the end.
it. Okay, good,
It
good.
was this was a really fun conversation,
Great.
and this will
Thank
be
you.
up
It was fun.
probably next week. So again, thank you again for taking time out of your day to hang out with me for about an hour. And
Absolutely. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for, I'm really excited to learn from you. I really am. And I want to know more about options too.
oh,
So,
for sure,
yeah.
I'll help you out with that. And
Okay.
all right, have a great rest of your day, and
Thank you.
we'll be in touch.
We'll be in touch. Yeah. All right. Bye.
Later, Mandy.